I'll introduce myself first. My name is Guy Nirpaz. I'm the CEO and founder of Totango. And with me, we've got Keith Strodtman and Shelby Czarnota. Sorry, Shelby. And but why don't you guys go ahead and just introduce yourself, and we'll get it from there. So Keith, why don't you start?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Keith Strodtman. I am the COO of our Customer First organization at SAP, and that is a big part of our customer success organization. Really focused primarily on our cloud customers, but as you'll find out throughout the session today, that we're expanding that coverage.
My name is Shelby Czarnota. I have been with SAP for about 15 years through the SuccessFactors acquisition, and I've worked for and with Keith Strodtman here for several of those years. I'm responsible for running the Totango Customer Success Business Solution here at SAP for primarily our cloud customer base and our customer success field, soon to expand to broader footprint of our customer base, and happy to be here today and share a bit of our story.
What were the core objectives of the project as you guys embarked on it?
There were really three big things that we were focused on in terms of our core objectives. The first was just knowing our customers. It may sound funny, but we had lots of information about our customers, but it was spread across many systems, many solutions. It was very difficult to get a consolidated view of what products a customer had, what was the health of that customer, what was the status of even things like their satisfaction and so forth, because each of these solution areas had different systems. So a big part of it was to better understand our customers by getting a consolidated view of that customer, and a system of truth, if you will. The second thing is we needed to drive a more consistent experience, and that's where we talk about turning insights into action. SAP is a pretty sophisticated company when it comes to using data, but because the data was spread all over, we weren't good at turning that data into actionable items in a consistent way. So things like success plays or alerts and triggers if there are risk situations, and how the kinds of things that would drive us to engage with the customer in a time of need. None of that was automated. So turning that data and that information into actions was a big driver. And then ultimately, you always have to have a real, a selfish business reason. We wanted to drive, customer for life, or the retention of revenue, improve value realization for our customers, but also scale. So drive operational efficiency in our own organization. And Shelby will probably talk about a little bit later some of the future things that we're really focused on. We've already started to do some, but we really are focusing on now is more automation and digital delivery and so forth. So being able to touch more customers in a timely way helps us from an operational efficiency standpoint. So those were the primary objectives that drove us to a technology and a process re-engineering, if you will.
What was the kind of the scope of that? Did you see customer success that goes beyond just the cloud business into the on-premise business, or what was the initial thinking? What's the current thinking?
Honestly, I think our scope initially was for cloud, primarily because that's where the focus was on harmonizing the process and the people and the playbooks. Now we're focused on bringing in the rest of our footprint, if you will, because the customer, frankly, doesn't care how we are deploying solutions to them, whether it be through public cloud or on-premise. They care about the experience overall. So yes, now we're focusing on bringing in full scope of customers to drive that consistent experience across, regardless of what deployment model they have.
So let's switch gears. So you had a problem, you had that clarity of vision of where you want to deliver on it. What were you looking to solve from a technology perspective? What were the core capabilities that you were shopping for?
We can do a lot of things with data from a presentation standpoint and from a dashboarding analytics standpoint. So, it wasn't about transactional systems and customer information. That data exists at large scale at SAP. What we were really trying to solve for is, what is that data telling us? And then ultimately, how do we want our field to engage based on that data entering a certain threshold or KPI Things like, we have a new customer, we need to onboard that customer, triggering action, turning that data into action. Or our customer is, for example, dipping below a certain threshold of usage. Having our field be able to know that instantaneously and then triggering action to engage with the customer to mitigate any potential risk there, or health scores or NPS surveys. So our big focus was, how do we take all the data we have, and on the slide you're sharing here on the left side, right, all the transactional data, all the reporting data, all the KPIs, and how do we turn that into the right actions at the right time for our field? And so what we were coming from was, field, go interpret all this data and figure out when it's the right time to engage with your customer, into a motion of, we're going to tell you when it's the right time to engage with your customer.
Yeah, so if I if I look at the slide that we currently have, so the left-hand side is capturing the information and organizing it and making sense out of this, and the right-hand side, 4, 5, 6, and 7, is the part in which you take action systematically. Am I reading this correctly?
You are. And I would say, on top of what I just said about actioning data, is also using that data for digital scale, right? So, we talked a bit about every line of business having different tools and views into customers, but the other reality too was, there's basic things like branding, how you communicate with your customer when you're onboarding them. And if you have 11 lines of business doing that in a slightly different way, customers feel it, right? And so part of the Totango solution was helping us solve for driving consistency on the right messaging and touch point with that customer with the right brand, pointing them to the right resources at the right time. So we have significantly leveraged that capability within Totango.
Guy, I noticed there's some questions coming in about how we're infusing experience, and that's actually something that's very prominent at SAP, given an acquisition that we made about 18 months ago of Qualtrics. We try to infuse people experience and customer experience, product experience into everything we do, and a big part of that is coming into Totango now. So when we see customer experience, or even our own employees' perceptions or attitudes toward what the customer experience is, we try to capture that and build that into our health scores, and try to use that data and that insight that we get from our experience platforms and programs, bringing that into Totango to take advantage of it in our success processes.
So let's talk a little bit about the scale and first outcome of implementation, and clearly, I'm sure that a lot of the folks in the audience also want to know, what are some of the key learnings and where this is all going, right? For SAP, implement the largest customer success implementation in the world with Totango was definitely a remarkable achievement. But what are some of the implementation learnings? But more than that, how SAP is different today than it used to be before?
Let me set the stage, and then Shelby can go into some of the implementation learnings and some of the deeper stats. But the other piece that we did, Shelby mentioned this already, in terms of focusing our initial implementation. We did this initial implementation very rapidly, in just a little over 6 months. And a big part of that was our own data organization. A guy will remember us having to corral some of our data, make last minute decisions to fly to Germany to work on the data elements. But all of that said, a big part of what we tried to do is not only we kept our focus on those processes that I mentioned earlier, but also we kept the stakeholders focused directly on our dedicated customer success resources. So the initial release was about, 1,200-1,800 people, depending on how you count it, that were pure customer success. And then we knew we were going to expand from there, because our whole customer first initiative at SAP is to make customer success a big part of our DNA across SAP. So I'll let Shelby talk about what she and her team have been doing to massively expand this coverage and the number of people that are participating in customer success and using Totango today.
Yeah, so the original go live set of users was about 1,200, and that consisted of CSMs, CEEs, and then their management operations support. We have since expanded, we're 18 months 19 months in. We've expanded to over 13,000 users. And again, as basic as it sounds, a single customer view was really critical to SAP. You can imagine my example of I'm a CSM in SuccessFactors. I have no idea generally what CSM in Ariba was doing, or even what the footprint was of that customer or what was at stake. And so this mindset, if you will, of customer first, SAP, and then line of business helped promote that single customer view. So with a single customer view, a 360 view, standardized KPIs, the entire account team, regardless of the line of business CEs and CSMs, can see across the account. So they understand and they can collaborate together at what's at stake and what they're trying to promote for that customer as a whole versus in their silo. That was really important for SAP, bringing that transparency in and opportunity for collaboration. The simple workspace that is inherent in Totango that comes with that. It sounds again silly, but just managing tasks and touch points for your portfolio wasn't something that anyone really had in a standardized way. It was all on notepads or in Excel or in Outlook. So we hear a lot of positive feedback of just even having that workspace to understand the holistic picture and being able to manage work with their customers and with their account team in general. I mentioned also that onboarding, both insights into onboarding where our customers are at in their journey, and adoption and consumption were two parts of the life cycle that we really wanted to narrow our focus on. So onboarding customers, knowing who a new customer is, engaging that customer with the right content, introducing yourself to that customer, all of those elements of onboarding, sending the right messages to those customers. So as part of our Totango deployment, we've enabled and automated over 160 messages across multiple languages, across all of those solutions, whereas before, those customers often weren't getting any touch point at all.
Where are we going from here, right? So implementation started 1,200 people, now over 13,000. Where this is all going from an SAP's point of view?
For us, we're actually going through yet another transformation from an organizational standpoint at SAP to further bring together, and this actually touches on one of the questions out there, further bring together our customer experiences across both our cloud and our on-prem business. So we recently combined some of our on-premise customer success areas with our cloud success areas and created a new customer experience board area or services area within SAP. So a big part of what we're doing is expanding to look at our customers more holistically across cloud and on-prem. The on-prem has always been a very stable business. So again, it wasn't our starting priority, but now our customers are demanding that we look at them holistically and help them through their overall value realization, not just solution independent or just cloud, for example. So that's a big part of it. And then of where we're going in the future. And then the other big thing is we're going to be on this continuous journey of how do we scale better, right? We're still growing very rapidly. For a large company, our cloud business in particular is growing very rapidly. So we need to be able to be more efficient and more effective. We just can't keep throwing bodies at our customer success efforts. So things like digital engagement, things like making information more accessible and on demand for our customers, and then using data to help prompt the customer to engage with those on-demand assets and those on-demand capabilities. And on-demand could also be one-dimensional.
Yeah, so let's see how well you're in sync, Shelby. You just need to continue.
Okay, well, I'll do my best, picking up where he left off. So, the digital scale engagement is big, and digital and or tech touch kind of get used interchangeably here. But data-driven and automation, regardless of motion. The practice and tooling for on-premise customers and harmonizing first and foremost, how do we engage with our customer as a customer regardless of their deployment model, and then Totango enabling that for us. We have this center-led approach where there's supporting resources similar to a VAT in pre-sales, where we get a notification that they're not using the product, and it's because how they implemented the product. There's resources that are center-led that also will start contributing to those processes within Totango. Our customer health scoring is an area that, as a big organization, we tend to struggle with, but ongoing improvements to our customer health scoring, leveraging some predictive models, and then a big focus on renewal KPIs and renewal planning as part of the overall success planning. That is a huge piece for me, because when you see all these questions in the Q&A of how do you know the impact you're having or not having, KPIs such as renewals, and did you achieve upsell, or did you grow the account, or did you churn anything, that is where you actually measure how do you know what you're doing in the middle actually matters, right? How do you know all of this engagement through onboarding and adoption is having an impact, whether it's automated or through a high touch motion? So that's a big part of our focus over the next couple of quarters. And then I just did share, and I think you have the slide up, maybe you don't, just some answers to some questions about metrics around usage and end user satisfaction and login and engaged usage rates. Number of success plays we're automating on a monthly basis to get engagement with our customers. Yes, exactly. The touch points that we're driving with our customers, the targeted messages that are reaching our customers that they're engaging on, and the open rate and click-through rates of those. So just a few metrics to share with all of you. I think that answers some of those questions that were in the Q&A.
But thank you very much for taking the time and sharing the story of the largest customer success implementation in the world with the audience. And for those of you who want to start with your journey of customer success and Totango, if you haven't already, you can simply go to the Totango website and sign up for your free account and get started. So thank you very much. Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Shelby. And thanks for Lorena for setting it up. Thank you very much.